Hey everyone, this is Mark from Stocks and Cash. It's Wednesday, February 28th, 2018, last day of February, and I'm here with a market analysis update, go over my holdings, and then talk about some potential setups for tomorrow. So today in the SPY, we had, a pretty interesting day. In my opinion, this was our open right about here. We kind of popped up a little bit in the morning. We kind of came down, tested this trend line, which I'll zoom out and show you in a bit. Then we kind of rode up this trend line, almost back to the highs of the day, and then all of a sudden around 4:30 or so, like yesterday, we just took off and sold off very hard. Definitely bearish sentiment with that type of sell-off. It was really ugly, only a couple of, bullish candles and nothing to really save that sell-off. Even this last one, in that last 5-minute candle, it was green at some point and then it just got knocked down, closed around 271.31. So pretty ugly day. Let's go and look at our regular daily view. So we broke through this little trend line that I drew yesterday. I said it wasn't really a real trend line necessarily, because the only true points was this big black candle, these two little points here, and then potentially this one. But regardless, there was an uptrend forming. It's below that trend line now. We've broken through the 8 and the 21 EMAs. We stopped just short of the 55. This is the warning zone if you draw fibs from the high of Tuesday's candle to the low of the candle on the 9th. And based on the price action, it's certainly possible we get there. But the 55 EMA could act as relatively strong support, potentially. You've got these 2 or 3 candles here that kind of stopped in this vicinity around 270. 270 is a round number. Psychologically, markets tend to like round numbers. So if 270 breaks and we start selling off, I certainly expect us to come down into this this warning area here. And if we break through here, then certainly back down to this low on 2.9, which is around 253. So definitely some milestones we have to get through in order to get all the way back down to 253. But based on price action today, it seems like it could be possible. Looking at the VIX, the fear index, volatility index rather, a big strong bullish candle today, following a similar strong bullish candle yesterday. MACD is trying to cross over. The Stokes are starting to get bullish. RSI is bullish. So, if this thing starts rising up again, we could see some wild price actions coming into the markets over the next few days and weeks. Just to go back to the SPY real quick, volume was a little bit bigger than the last 2 days. Not very encouraging if you're a bull. If you're a bear, then that might look pretty nice to you. But I do see, some more potential downward movement in the markets tomorrow and potentially Friday, and see if maybe we get a bounce inside of this, support region. But time will tell. Taking a look at the Qs. Qs, again, we saw yesterday got rejected from breaking out from their all-time highs. They didn't get back to the all-time highs today. We filled this gap. We came back and tested the 8 EMA. MACD looks like it's trying to roll over. The Stokes look like they're trying to roll over. This move doesn't seem as strong or volatile as what we saw back here in early February, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't have some volatility increase and increased volume on trading and have us come down to our retracement levels in this warning area, which I'll move over a little bit. So the Qs are definitely looking healthier than the SPY. Again, we are still above these trend lines, but just the way we sold off into the day, it just seems very unhealthy. Um, we're not basing, we're just selling off hard. Um, so again, definitely some concerning things going on there. Um, Taking a look at holdings, I closed out of a lot of long positions today. Earlier in the day, I was just getting a little nervous. Um, you know, since we started up high, that's why I started on the SPY chart. We started up kind of high. We moved up a little bit, came back down, went back up again. And when we started coming back up again, I saw that volatility was increasing, so I decided to kind of exit some of my positions. So um, let's take a look. Tiffany's. Oops. Tiffany's had an ugly day. I was not fortunate to get up. Excuse me, to get out when we were kind of up here above the close of yesterday's candle. I get out somewhere below the break of the 8 EMA. Wasn't found with the price action at all. So I cut my losses. I think around a 25% loss on that trade. Caterpillar, also an ugly trade that didn't work out. Again, once we got below the 21 in the 8 EMA, I bailed on that one. Another pretty big loss. I think that was around 30% loss on Caterpillar. I will show you those once I get the data in from TD Ameritrade, put them in my spreadsheet. But again, that one was a loss. Alibaba, another loss. We were kind of meandering for a while. We just never really popped back up, to get above the close of yesterday's candle. We also had some support at the 55. We didn't really sell off with the rest of the market like some other stocks did. So, Baba may still be strong. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it at the moment. Again, this head and shoulders pattern could potentially play out. But if that was the case, I would want to see us get at least below the 100 exponential simple moving average rather, and then continue on down to 168.61. So definitely a little bit of work to do for the bulls to see Baba roll over, I think. But certainly looking possible at this point in time given the markets. MasterCard, I was able to get out for a nice profit. I think around 20%. I was able to get out somewhere near the highs before things started rolling over, so I was fortunate with that. Waste Management was another profit. I think about 15% or so. We were kind of meandering near the high of this big black candle. When I saw it wasn't breaking through, I decided to get out. And you can see that the rest of the day it kind of came down. So I'm happy I was able to get profit in those two. And Capital One Financial, another one that didn't work out too well for me. I think I was down about 15% on that one. We were resting on this 21 EMA for a while during the day, and once that level broke, I decided to sell. So that is what I'm holding. I did mention that I bought SPY puts at the close of yesterday's candle, or trading session, I should say. So going back to the SPY, bought puts here. I was down on them a little bit, up pretty big now. I think I'm up about 45%. So I'm happy with that. I also got into Disney puts late in the day before the move happened. Once we broke the low of this candle, yesterday's candle, I got in short 3 puts, up around 20% or so, I believe, on that one. And I think there's some more room to run down, especially if the markets don't cooperate. So those are my holdings. Again, I will show you a spreadsheet probably tomorrow, or definitely by Sunday. I'll have those trades documented so you can see how I did in February. I think pretty much around neutral. It was pretty volatile, so quite honestly I'm happy with that performance, given that I haven't actually traded in a bear market like this yet. I think I did decently well. Certainly a lot of room for improvement, but I didn't lose my account or anything like that. So overall, pretty happy. So some short setups for tomorrow. MetLife. If the market continues to roll over, I definitely think we could come back to our lows here, 43.31. We're sitting at 40. Sorry. 46. No. Sorry. Let me see. Close of 46.19. Okay. Yeah. So 46.19 down to 43.31. It's about a $3 gain. You can put your stop, at the high of today's candle. About a 2-to-1 trade. Not the greatest risk to reward, but something to keep an eye on. HON. Similar looking trade setup. We barely closed below the simple moving average, the 100 simple moving average. Let me fix this. Still have some support here for this Fibonacci extension. Fibonacci retracement. But if we do push through there, could definitely come back down to 143. Especially if the markets play out that way. It's about a $7 gain or so. For a, let's see, we're at 151. The high of the candle is about 155. So it's about $4. For about an $8 gain. So again, another 2-to-1, not the greatest, but that depends on where you put your stop and where your risk is. That would just be my preference. The other thing you could do actually is if you're willing to day trade, and you could play the 5-minute candle. The first 5-minute candle forms. Once you get a close below that candle, you could get into some puts. If you close back above that first 5-minute candle, you exit your puts. So that's a way to kind of keep your your risk low, keep your stops tight, and still have some opportunity for this to run. Let's see, Verizon, something I talked about yesterday. It closed below this low here. We're below this swing. So I definitely think targets of 46 and 46.63 and 44.41 are possible, especially again if the markets roll over. Dunkin' Donuts, this one's also looking great for a short. We're below the 100 simple moving average, below the other exponential moving averages. We're below the warning area here, so there's definitely some opportunity to keep on coming down. And let's see, targets. Targets on Dunkin'. So if we get to 56.71 and keep on going, 53.55, and then 49.48 ultimately. But before we even get to that level, this looks like some support here as well. So, and actually, I think what we want to do is show this swing. So I take those numbers back, and it looks like we'd be looking at 54.63 and about $52, since we're looking at this swing that's kind of reversing right now. A couple other setups. LNG, looking like a healthy short. We broke the low from the pullback earlier in the month. We do have the 100 simple moving average there to catch us, so to speak. But I see targets of 50.86 and 48.31 if we keep on coming down here on LNG. And then the last short that I have is Walmart. You can see the last 3 days or so, we were kind of in a bullish flag pattern. It broke yesterday and continued on today. I definitely think there's opportunity to come down to the 168.8756. Looks very weak. It is a bit oversold, so I'd be careful on it. But if the markets roll over, I would think that Walmart will follow and could continue on down. Now, a couple of potential plays if the market reverses and goes higher. Apple, if we get a close above 180.17. I would be looking at targets of, let's see, what targets would I be looking at? 188 and about 200. So that just supposes that, you know, the market rallies and we get a close above 180.17 tomorrow. I'm not saying that can't happen. It doesn't very much seem likely, but it is still possible. So I'm just trying to give some additional perspectives. And then Intel. You know, Intel tried to break out yesterday. It failed. We gapped up a bit. I wouldn't want to call it a gap, I guess, but we did pop up a bit today, but then ultimately closed and haven't actually quite filled this gap yet. And we still have quite a bit of space between the AEMA, so I definitely would use a little caution in Intel if you're planning on buying. You know, gaps do like to fill. I wouldn't be surprised if we come back and fill this gap, especially if the markets decide they want to pull back some, as they seem to be indicating. And although I forgot to look at Tesla earlier, you know, Tesla is channeling right now, right? So you have, you know, this small wave here, then you have, you know, you touch the 360 level once, 360 level twice, 360 level, you know, 3 or 4 more times here. And then at the low end, you know, it tends to come back to you know, 310, 300, 294. So if you're confident that this channel is real, now may be a good time to short Tesla and see if we do come back to these levels. But again, that's up to you and your trading plan, how you handle things. It's just a thought. I probably wouldn't do it because of how quickly it moves, and you know, you can make and lose a lot of money very quickly on Tesla in terms of their options. So I personally don't anticipate taking that trade, but it is an option if you're looking for patterns and you like to trade patterns. That's about it for tonight. Best of luck tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Make sure you trade your plan. And yeah, have a good night.